Hi, I'm Bill from CJ Pony Parts. We recently showed you how to install Total Control Products bolt-on coilover conversion kit using our 70 Mach 1. We did the installation with remove the factory export brace. We explained that the factory export brace would not work with the mounting brackets provided for the coilovers for the TCP setup. So today, we're going to install the Total Control Products adjustable export brace that'll work with those brackets as well as a stock setup. The shock tower plates provided in the TCP kit have 3 holes, so they'll work with either the brackets we're using for our coilovers or your stock shock tower tops. From there, they go through these adjustable bars with rod ends to the plate that's going to mount on the firewall itself. Unlike the original one, which just goes to the pinch weld, this will go to the pinch weld and have 3 additional holes that go through the firewall and sandwich in for additional strength. For this installation, if you have coilovers, you'll need a jack and jack stands. If you have stock suspension, you will not need them. You need a 3/8 ratchet, 7/32 Allen key, short extension, 14mm wrench, drill, 3/8 drill bit, and safety glasses. If you're running the coilover conversion like we are, you have 2 different options as far as mounting the plate. You can mount it on top of the factory plate, or you can mount it below it. If you mount it below it, it's going to raise this up and it's going to lower your ride height. If you're looking to keep a standard ride height, you'll mount it on top, which is what we're going to do with our car. If you're working on an original suspension Mustang, you can actually do this installation on the ground. You're going to unbolt your shock, unbolt the shock top, and put the plate on when you're finished. In the case of our car, because it has coilovers, this now has weight on it, so the car has to go up in the air, so we can remove these to install the plate. Once you get the wheel off, we're going to start the installation by supporting the front suspension with a jack. That way we can unbolt the mounting plate for the coilover. We can hold the nuts and remove the bolts. Like I said before, you have 2 options here. If you want to go underneath, you will have to unbolt the coilover to get it in place. That'll give you a little bit lower ride height. Since we're trying to stay with the stock height we have now, we're going to bolt it on top. Make sure the plate is seated where it was originally. Everything's straight. Now we can reinstall the plate on the bottom and reinstall the nuts to hold it on. Now repeat the process on the other side. Now we'll move on to the plate on the pinch weld at the firewall. We're going to start by popping off our air cleaner here, just to give us a little more room to work. I want to make sure the area down here is clean. We have this little stud for a wiring harness poking through. We're going to push that through out of the way. Now the plate TCP piece is going to mount underneath the stock pinch weld. I'll put a bolt through with a washer from the top, and then nuts in the bottom to hold it in place. You should get these all started before you even try to tighten one down. And now we can all tighten them down. With the plate bolts to our pinch weld, now we can actually drill the holes through our firewall for the support plate. What we'll do is basically just drill a hole through each one of these holes right here and then put a nut and bolt on there. Before you do that though, go to the interior, make sure there's nothing on the other side you're going to drill into. Wires, hoses, anything like that you could damage. We checked everything's clear, we can drill our holes. This plate's going to mount on the other side of the firewall and sandwich the firewall to hold the bracket in place. What you're going to do is take the 3 bolts with washers, put them through. This plate's going to go on the other side with some of these lock nuts on the side. You will need someone to help you with this part because someone's got to be inside holding it while you hold the bolts on this side as well. Recommend somebody of a smaller stature because it is very tight underneath the dashboard. We're going to start with the center bolt, probably the easier one to locate. And I'll have Jeff put the bracket in place on the other side while I hold the bolt. Now we're going to assemble the rods with the ends. You have one's going to be a left thread, one's going to be a right thread. Put a dab anti-seize on both sides though before we thread them in. sure you don't forget the lock nut. Now we're going to install the rod. There's a bevel that's going to go on this side, and you'll use the longer bolt down here. And now we're just going to thread it by hand to get it close. Now you put nuts on them and tighten them down. I'm going to adjust the bar so it spins fairly freely so there's no real preload on it, and tighten down the lock nuts. And repeat the process on the other side and your installation is finished. The Total Control Products adjustable export brace can do a great job with our car, being much stronger than the factory one, and ties in perfectly with our coilover conversion system. You might be wondering about this front hole here. They actually have expandable pieces. There's a Monte Carlo bar available, and then a truss brace that would go from here to the Monte Carlo bar for even more support. The installation on stock suspension figure around 2 hours. Coilovers like ours probably around 3, but you'll be back on the road in no time.